When your mind feels tangled with worries and endless thoughts, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and remind yourself not everything needs to be controlled. Sometimes the best way to find peace isn't by trying to fix or change every problem, but by learning to let go of what's beyond your reach. You can't control how others act or prevent life's unexpected challenges, but you can control how you respond to them. Stoic philosophy taught me a simple yet profound truth. When you learn to keep your mind clear and free from the chaos of external events, peace will naturally find its way to you. And that's the key to freeing yourself from the invisible burdens you've been carrying in this video. I'll share with you 7 lessons and experiences I've gathered through my journey with Stoicism. This isn't just theory, it's practical wisdom to help you clear your mind and discover tranquility in every moment of your life. So stay focused and don't miss a single part, because sometimes just one idea or a simple shift in perspective can change the way you face life forever. Number 1, detach from the burden of expectations as children. We live fully in each moment, unburdened by worries of the future, untouched by the weight of societal expectations. But as we grew older, we were taught to chase after the standards set by the world's success. Fame status, we became entangled in a web of expectations, the expectations of our parents, our teachers, our friends, and most daunting of all, our own expectations, music. But have you ever stopped to ask, where do these expectations come from? Do they truly reflect who you are? Or are they just invisible chains binding your soul? The truth is, when we stop letting others' expectations dictate our lives, when we release the need to meet standards that don't belong to us, our minds become lighter, our hearts more at peace. Imagine your mind as a flowing river. If you constantly pour into it, the pressures, worries, and demands of others, the water becomes murky, the current disrupted. But if you allow the unnecessary to drift away, your mind will become as clear and still as a tranquil lake under the moonlight. Ask yourself, are the things you're striving for truly yours? Or are they just layers of expectations you were to please others? There are people who spend their entire lives seeking society's approval only to realize they have never truly lived for themselves. There are those who chase fame only to feel empty once they attain it. There are those who follow the path laid out by their families only to discover it was never their path to walk. Are any of these things truly worth the cost of inner peace? Epictetus reminds us, free freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you understand that others' expectations are beyond your control, you begin to learn the art of letting go. You don't have to exhaust yourself proving your worth. You don't have to achieve something just because it is expected of you. You only need to focus on what truly matters to you. Picture this, you're standing in a cluttered room filled with things you don't actually need. Each item represents an expectation placed upon you, a shirt you don't like but keep because someone gifted it to you, a book you never wanted to read but hold on to out of fear of judgment, a decorative piece that means nothing to you but stays because it might please someone else. Your mind is no different when you fill it with unknown, necessary expectations. You create chaos and leave no space for peace and freedom. So how do you declutter your mind first? Accept that you cannot please everyone. You cannot control what others think, but you can control how you respond to it. Ask yourself, does this truly matter to me? If the answer is no, let it go. Next practice. Stillness. Don't let the noise of the world drown out your inner voice. If you feel pressured by someone else's expectations, take a deep breath and remind yourself, I do not live to please others. I live to find peace. Within myself, Seneca said, he who is brave is free. Letting go of expectations is not an act of recklessness. It is an act of courage. It is the bold step toward reclaiming your mind and your freedom. When you stop worrying about things beyond your control, when you dare to live authentically, you will find the serenity you have long been searching for. Imagine a day when you no longer worry about what others think. You no longer chase after meaningless expectations. You wake up with a peaceful mind, a light heart. You move through each moment without the weight of unnecessary burdens on your shoulders. This is not some distant, unattainable dream. It is a choice, and you can make that choice right now. Number 2, stop chasing what unsettles you. Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing something only to be met with anxiety, worry, and exhaustion? Maybe it's a job that drains you, but you're too afraid to leave. Perhaps it's a relationship ship-filled with hurt that you're still desperately clinging to, or maybe it's the unrealistic expectations you've set for yourself. We get caught in the whirlwind of things that don't truly belong to us, and in doing so, we lose the peace within our souls. But why does it have to be this way? Take a moment to reflect on what you're chasing. Is it fame, wealth, the perfect version of yourself you think you need to become? If these things bring you joy, by all means continue. But if they're eating away at your mind, ask yourself, do I really need this? Is it making me better? If I let go, would I feel relief? Letting go isn't failure. It's a conscious choice to protect your inner peace. True freedom comes from releasing what isn't meant for you. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hand every day. You carry it with you, and it wears you down, but you keep holding on, believing it's important, thinking that if you let go, you'll lose something vital. The truth is, only when you release your grip will you feel the weight lift. One of the roots of insecurity is the relentless desire to achieve something at any cost. When you tie your happiness to something beyond your control, a relationship, a job, an image of yourself you struggle to maintain, you give that thing power over your emotions. Look at those who chase after fame, constantly obsessed with others. Approval, they never feel like it's enough. They live in fear of being forgotten. But a person who practices stoicism doesn't fall into that trap. They understand that fame is just an illusion, a fleeting mist. When you no longer allow desire or fear to dictate your actions, you'll find your mind lighter than ever. Have you noticed that the most peaceful moments don't come from grand successes, but from the simplest things? A quiet morning with a warm cup of tea, a cool breeze on a summer day, the feeling of letting your body relax after a long day. When you stop yearning for what's out of reach, you realize you already have enough. Peace isn't in the future. It's not in luxury. It's right here in this very moment. Knowing what makes you anxious is one thing, letting it go is another. Stoicism doesn't just teach us how to think. It guides us to take action. If you want to reclaim your peace, try this. Identify what's causing your anxiety. Write down the things that worry you each day. What patterns keep showing up? What makes you feel out of control? Ask yourself, is it worth it? Does this truly add value to my life? Or is it just dragging me down? Practice letting go little by little. If you feel stuck in a job that exhausts you, try easing the expectations and pressures you put on yourself. If a relationship brings you pain, gradually create some distance. Seek peace in the simple things. Spend time alone. Embrace stillness. Read, take walks. When your mind isn't cluttered with meaningless worries, you'll feel lighter. Your mind isn't a battlefield for anxieties and insecurities to reign. You have the power to choose what's worth holding on to and what needs to be released. Stopping the chase for things that unsettle you doesn't mean giving up on life. On the contrary, it's the moment you truly begin to live freely, firmly, and serenely. But even when you stop pursuing the things that cause you anxiety, a bigger challenge remains: your own mind. The worries, obsessive thoughts, the constant inner critic. All of these can trap you, even when the world outside has grown quiet. How do you face yourself without getting lost in the chaos? Let's explore the next step on your journey to finding peace. Number 3, silence the enemy. Inside each of us, there are two voices. One voice urges you forward, encouraging you to believe in yourself and face life with calm confidence. The other does the opposite. It whispers, doubts, fears, and endless criticisms into your ear. It reminds you of your failures, convinces you that you're not good enough, and paints worst-case scenarios in your mind. This second voice is your inner enemy. It has no form, no physical strength, but it can be the biggest barrier between you and inner peace. Imagine standing in the middle of a dense forest, surrounded by the rustling of leaves, birdsong, and the wind whistling through the trees. If you stop and listen, you'll realize these sounds are simply part of the forest's natural rhythm. But if you fear every rustle, convinced that danger lurks behind each sound, you'll remain trapped in your own anxiety. The mind works the same way. Thoughts appear, drift by, and fade away. But if you cling to them, stir them up, you'll never find true stillness. The inner enemy doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from how you react to it. Some days you feel completely drained, not because of what you've done, but because of what you've thought. Negative thoughts spiral in your mind, drowning you in insecurity and fear. You wonder why you can't be happy, why things aren't going the way you hoped. But perhaps the better question is, why are you letting your mind become a battlefield for wars that aren't real? The only way to silence the inner enemy is to learn to observe it without reacting when a negative thought appears. Instead of diving into the emotions it brings, step back and watch it like an audience watching a play. You can see it, hear it, but you don't have to take on the role like clouds drifting across the sky. Thoughts come and go. It's only when you latch on to them that they become chains binding you. There's a simple truth we often forget. It's not what happens that determines your emotions. It's how you perceive it. One person missing an opportunity might see it as the end, while another sees it as the beginning of something new. One person might view failure as proof of inadequacy, while another sees it as a necessary lesson. The difference doesn't lie in the event itself, but in how each person responds to cultivate inner control. Start by questioning yourself whenever a negative thought arises. Is it really true? Does it have any value? Is it worth sacrificing your peace over? Simply asking these questions creates distance between you and your thoughts, preventing you from getting swept away unconsciously. When you realize you are not your thoughts, they can no longer control you. Another powerful method is to focus on action instead of overthinking when you find yourself stuck in an anxiety. Get up and do something useful. Write down what you're thinking. Take a walk, move. Your body read a book. Action is the best way to pull yourself out of mental storms. You can't stop thoughts from appearing, but you can choose how to respond to them. And sometimes the best response is no response at all. Just letting them pass like water slipping through your fingers. The human mind is a complex maze, but it's not uncontrollable. You can learn to live with it, face it, and observe it calmly when you master your inner enemy. You'll realize that peace doesn't come from eliminating negative thoughts entirely, but from not letting them dictate your life. Peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's the ability to stand firm in the midst of it. Next time your mind feels too loud, don't fight it, let it settle naturally like a lake returning to stillness after the wind dies down. Peace doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from learning to let things flow without clinging or resisting. And when you do, you'll discover that the tranquility you've been seeking has always been there. You just hadn't allowed yourself to touch it now. If what you've just read made you pause, inspired you, or lit a spark of motivation within you, turn this moment into action. Hit that like button to affirm that you're on a journey of self-growth. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because every time you do, you're not just helping yourself, but also spreading this positive energy to those who truly need it. Don't just listen. Act number 4, burn the bridges to your past worries. Have you ever felt trapped in old memories, mistakes, or past pains, as if they were invisible chains binding your soul? We often torment ourselves with endless thoughts about what has already happened, things we can no longer change, as if regret could somehow turn back time. But you know what? Stoic philosophy doesn't allow us to be slaves to the ghosts of our past. Instead, it teaches us to burn the bridges that tie us to outdated worries, freeing our minds and reclaiming our inner peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Forget everything else, keep hold of this alone, and remember it, each of us lives only now, this brief instant. If the present is all we truly have, why let the past control it? The past doesn't exist anymore. It's just a story kept alive in your mind, and you decide whether to let it drain your energy or not." Picture yourself standing on an old bridge, stretching across a barren land filled with painful memories. You can see it all. Mistakes, failures, words you can't take back. Missed opportunities, but instead of moving forward, you stand there staring back, letting old regrets pull you into the past. Does that help you? This bridge no longer serves you. It only leads back to a place you can't change. We need the courage to burn that bridge, not out of hatred, not out of denial, but out of the understanding that we no longer belong there. One of our biggest mistakes is thinking that letting go means forgetting everything. No, you don't have to forget, but you do have to stop letting it control your mind. Learn to look at the past as a lesson, not a life sentence. If you've made mistakes, take the lessons and move forward. If you've been hurt, let that pain be the fuel that makes you stronger. Don't let the past hold you hostage. A friend of mine was betrayed in a relationship. He let that pain haunt him for years, always doubting, always afraid of getting hurt again. We've all been there carrying old wounds, scared they'll repeat themselves. But the truth is, the past only has power if we give it power. When he realized he could choose how to see his past not as a wound, but as a lesson he was able to love again. You can do the
Same, ask yourself, are you living in a prison built by your own mind? We often replay the same stories in our heads like a never-ending movie on repeat. But what happens if you stop replaying that old tape? What if every time your mind pulls you back to a painful memory, you recognize it and say, no, that's over. I don't need to relive it again. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Old memories cause us pain, not because they still affect reality, but because we allow ourselves to keep experiencing that pain in our minds. Are you torturing yourself by reliving your mistakes? If so, try writing down everything that haunts you, then burn that piece of paper. Watching the flames consume your old worries can be a symbolic way to truly let go. The best way to stop the past from pulling you back is to build a strong present when you have something meaningful to focus on. You won't have time to return to old ghosts, set new goals, build healthy habits, and spend time with people who love you. Life is waiting for you ahead, not behind. Ask yourself, if you knew you only had today to live, would you still waste time on past regrets? You don't need a miracle to find peace. Peace doesn't come from the outside. It's something you create by choosing to stop fighting. What's already gone, step forward and leave the past behind. Burn that bridge on the other side is freedom, and now, congratulations. You've made it more than halfway. If you're still here, it's a sign that you truly want to find peace. Don't stop now, because every part of this video is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Keep going to the end, where you'll discover a complete strategy to apply Stoicism practically and effectively in your life. Number 5, make space for stillness. Modern life feels like a rushing current pulling us along at breakneck speed, the constant noise of the world work responsibilities. Social media, endless worries, drags us further from our true selves. We forget how to pause, how to listen to our inner voice, and how to embrace the stillness that was once a natural part of human life. But have you ever realized that it's in stillness where we see most clearly? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Your mind, when nurtured, can be the most peaceful sanctuary you return to. But if you let it drown in chaos, it becomes a stormy sea with waves of anxiety, anger, and ambition constantly crashing over you. So how do we create space for stillness? The answer doesn't lie in escaping the world, but in learning to control what we allow into our minds. When Seneca said, "If you really want to escape the things that are asked you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person," he wasn't urging us to run away. He was reminding us that peace comes from within. Imagine walking into a cluttered room with stuff strewn everywhere in that space. You can't relax. You feel heavy, overwhelmed. But if you take the time to tidy up, to remove what's unnecessary, the room transforms into a light, open space that invites calm. Our minds are the same without intentional gaps of stillness. Our thoughts pile up, turning our minds into storage rooms of chaos. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in silence, undisturbed by your phone or work? Do you remember how that felt? Or maybe you've never truly experienced it. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's fullness. Many fear silence, equating it with boredom. But that's a misconception. When you make room for stillness, you're giving your mind the space to recharge, to think deeply, and to connect authentically with yourself. When you let life's noise dictate your thoughts, You're easily swayed by outside opinions, losing sight of what you truly want. But when you pause, when you let your mind settle, you begin to hear the most honest voice inside you. And that's what truly matters. You don't need to retreat to a remote boat forest or cut yourself off from the world to find stillness. You simply need to create intentional moments of pause in your day. A slow morning, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, letting the morning light filter through the window, before checking your phone, an unhurried afternoon walk in nature, without a destination, just feeling each step, each breath a moment in your day where you sit. Sit down and write out the tangled thoughts in your mind, letting the words bring clarity to your inner world, a habit of disconnecting from the noise of the digital world, giving your mind the rare chance to be truly quiet. Stillness isn't a gift the world will hand you. It's something you must create for yourself, and as you practice this, you'll discover something powerful. Peace doesn't come from control, rolling the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within. That's the very essence of Stoicism. Are you ready to carve out a moment of stillness? Right now. Just pause. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. Let your thoughts settle when you open.
Let your thoughts settle. When you open your eyes, the world will be the same, but your mind will be different, clearer, lighter, and more at peace. Number 6, remove the need for constant validation. Imagine standing at top a mountain at sunset. The wind brushes through your hair. The vast horizon unfolds before your eyes, and in that fleeting moment, you feel truly free. But then an unexpected thought creeps in. Do others think I'm good enough? Will they acknowledge what I've accomplished? Suddenly, that peace shatters, replaced by anxiety and self-doubt. We've grown so accustomed to seeking validation that our minds become shackled by the relentless judgment of others. Recognition is something we've craved since childhood, from the applause when we first learned to walk to the praises for high grades, and the admiration in our careers and lives. We've learned to measure our worth through the reaction of those around us. But have you ever paused to wonder, if no one ever witnessed your achievements, would they still hold value if no one applauded? Would you still strive as hard? Marcus Aurelius once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." It's a paradox, loving ourselves more than anyone else, yet placing the opinions of others above our own. Why can a passing glance, a careless critique, or even the silence of those around us make us question ourselves? It's because we've handed over the keys to our self-worth, allowing every compliment to act as a fleeting high, and every criticism to cut deep into our self-esteem. The thirst for validation is an unquenchable one. A compliment brings momentary joy, but soon after comes the worry. Can I maintain this approval if I fail? Will they still respect me? We become slaves to praise, no different from addicts chasing their next fix. And like any addiction, it never offers lasting satisfaction. Try a simple challenge. Do something that no one knows about. Write a poem without sharing it online. Help someone without telling a soul. Achieve something without waiting for any applause. How does that feel if you find peace? That's a sign of true independence of thought. But if you feel empty, perhaps it's time to ask yourself, what am I really living for? To find inner peace, you must first learn to stand firm amid praise and criticism. Not everyone will understand you, and they don't have to. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, as for others whose lives are not so ordered, he reminds himself constantly of the characters they exhibit daily and nightly at home and abroad, and of the sort of society they frequent, and the approval of such men who do not even stand well in their own eyes has no value for him. The very people who pass judgment on you may not even understand themselves. So why should their recognition dictate your worth? The world is ever-changing, and so are people's opinions. Today they might praise you, tomorrow they might forget you. If your self-worth depends on that, are you truly in control? Your mind isn't an empty cup waiting to be filled with praise. It's a steadfast mountain unshaken by the winds of public opinion. When you release the constant need for validation, you not only free your mind from anxiety, but also discover a profound strength, the power of inner freedom. This is when you do the right thing, not for acknowledgement, but because you know it's worth doing. True peace doesn't come from applause, but from self-understanding. Ask yourself, if no one praises me, if no one witnesses my success, would I still feel satisfied? If your answer is yes, you found true freedom. If not, perhaps it's time to turn inward and listen to yourself rather than the noise of the world. Do you agree with this perspective? If yes, comment. I am enough to affirm that your worth doesn't depend on others. Recognition. If not, share your thoughts or story in the comments. Let's have a meaningful discussion together. Number 7, find tranquility in music. Acceptance. As autumn arrives, golden leaves begin to fall from the trees. The tree doesn't cling to its leaves, nor does it blame the cold autumn wind for sweeping away its lush canopy. It embraces this change as a natural part of life cycle, knowing that after the harsh winter, spring will return and new buds will bloom once more. Human life mirrors this rhythm. We cannot escape loss, failure, or unexpected turns. But instead of resisting or lamenting, true peace comes when we accept what cannot be changed. Like the tree letting go of its leaves to prepare for a fresh start, we too can find serenity by releasing what no longer belongs to us. Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This doesn't mean giving up on effort, but rather focusing your energy on what you can truly control: your thoughts, actions, and reactions. The rest, other people's behavior, the weather, unforeseen events, let them unfold as they will. When you accept this, your mind lightens in peace naturally.